present Kenneth Williams, Clement Freud, Peter Jones, and Amy MacDonald in Just a Minute. As the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much indeed. Welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once again, we're delighted to welcome back Amy MacDonald to pit her feminine wiles against our three tough male exponents of the game. And I'm going to ask them to speak once more, if they can, for just 1 minute on some unlikely subject, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject on the card. And according to how well they do this, or otherwise, they will gain points, or their opponents will. And we'll begin the show this week with Peter Jones. The subject, Peter, optimism. Can you talk on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
When I leave home on Just a Minute days, I always believe that finally I am going to win, which I believe proves that I...
Amy MacDonald challenge first.
Repetition.
Yes.
Believe.
That's right,
it?
yes. And well done, Amy. You're in there like grease lightning there, and you have 50 seconds for this subject of optimism, starting now.
It's much better to be optimistic about things rather than pessimistic. Then life is much easier, you see, and definitely a lot happier, because you go through life being terribly...
Clement Freud challenge.
Repetition of life.
Yes. I'm afraid you had more than one life, Amy.
Yes.
Clement Freud, you take over the subject, because I agree with your challenge. You gain a point for that, and there are 40 seconds for optimism, starting now.
Next Tuesday, my Rolls Royce will be delivered. My shares...
Peter Jones, you challenge. Why?
Advertising. Always advertising.
Yes, but you see, the thing is, providing he doesn't deviate from the subject on the card, which is optimism, then it is not official deviation. And therefore, as he didn't do that, I disagree with the challenge. Clement Freud gets a point, and there are 34 seconds for optimism, Clement, starting now.
My shares will go up. Our mother's help is likely to proposition me. And this...
Kenneth Williams, a challenge. Why?
Oh, it's disgraceful filth.
So why have you challenged?
I don't know, but I think it's disgusting.
What, the idea of the mother's help proposition?
Yes.
Well, perhaps
Wait
there's
for
only
the end of the sentence.
All right. Actually, he hasn't deviated from optimism. I mean, it might be very optimistic to have your mother's help proposition you.
I did buzz at the same time, Nicholas.
Yes,
you know.
but whoever buzzer goes first eliminates the other three.
Oh, but I thought Kenneth, having gone for a Burton, mine might be worth something.
All right. Let's have yours, Amy.
Well, mine was hesitation, you see.
No, I think that one's going to go for Burton as well. Clement, you have 27 seconds for optimism, starting now.
It's a lovely day. The sun will shine for weeks. It's never going to rain again. Next year, I'm going for my holidays round the world 3 times. I'm pretty confident that my bank manager is going to ring me up and say, Freud, come over here. I'd like to give you an overdraft of £4.5 million. But as soon as that happens, I would say, sir, I'm most grateful to you, because that is exactly the sum of money with which I can do something like buy my own radio program, take over the BBC.
For those of you who don't know, the whistle tells us that 60 seconds is up, and whoever is speaking at that particular moment gains the extra point. On this occasion, it was Clement Freud who has a commanding lead over everybody else at the end of that round. Kenneth Williams, we'd love to hear from you, and it's your turn to begin. And the subject, very apt, Sweet Williams. Can you talk about Sweet Williams for 60 seconds, starting now?
Yes, it's very appropriate that you've asked me to discuss this, because when Queen Mary arrived from The Hague, she looked out into this window box and said, what are those sweet blooms? And they said, oh, they're Williams. And she said, thus henceforward shall they be known botanically. And, of course, there is the appropriate entry in the annual rose grove. Oh, no, because no.
Oh, you shouldn't stop. Kenneth, keep going, come what may. So, Clement Freud, you challenge. Why? First.
Hesitation.
Yes, I'm afraid there was. Clement, you have another point. You have 32 seconds for Sweet Williams, starting now.
Although this is a name sometimes given to flowers, I like to think that it is the family living not far from Baker Street, at the back of Madame Tussauds, because nowhere is there a more saccharine, a sweeter, a lovelier, a kinder, a warmer Come on, challenge.
Peter Jones is challenged. Why?
Hesitation.
Yes, it was a little unfair.
Wasn't hesitation, it was demonstration, you fool.
There was a hesitation by Clement Freud, a demonstration by you, and I must explain to the listeners that's really the reason he hesitated, because you were acting up so beautifully, so overcome, so coy with it all.
Oh, you're right, I was doing my Veronica Lake bit.
But as we have to keep going under very difficult situations in this game, Clement didn't achieve it. He was challenged for hesitation. I agree, Peter. There are 10 seconds, Peter Jones, for you, subject Sweet Williams, starting now.
Across rolling lawns and bushes and small shrubs, I see an English garden full of foxgloves and
Peter Jones was then speaking when the whistle went, so he gained the extra point, and he's now in second place, but Clement Freud is very definitely still in the lead. And Clement Freud, your turn to begin. How to win friends. What a good subject in this game, the way they play it. Clement, will you talk to us about it for 60 seconds, starting now?
How to win friends, what a good subject in this game, is especially easy when somebody hesitates, like doesn't say anything for a long time, and you don't challenge him. But there are other ways, like when somebody deviates.
Amy MacDonald has challenged you.
and
Why?
you don't.
Repetition.
Of
Like.
like, you're quite right. He did say like more than once. Amy, you have the subject, and there are 43 seconds for how to win friends, starting now.
It should be very easy, really, to win friends.
Clement Freud has challenged. Why?
Deviation.
Why?
For Amy, it is very easy.
Oh, that's nice of you. Thank you, Clement.
But as Amy, it's even more nice of him, really, because as it's not a correct challenge, you get a point for a false challenge as well. You get a compliment and a point, and 40 seconds for how to win friends, starting now.
All you have to do is just be nice to people. You don't be rude or silly about them.
Kenneth Williams has challenged.
Hesitation.
Yes, I'm afraid there was, yes.
I know.
I was enjoying it.
My
Because she was
problem.
thinking of the people who are rude sometimes. And there are 32 seconds for you, Kenneth Williams, having gained the subject and a point, of course. 32 seconds. How to win friends, starting now.
The whole expression is, of course, totally inaccurate. Your friends, as Emerson said, to come to you unsought, the good God sends them. And this has proved throughout my life, this has proved to me to be one of the great...
Amy MacDonald was challenged.
Repetition.
Yes.
To be, to be.
To be.
Well, haven't you read your Shakespeare, to be or not to be? That is the question.
And then you said to be, and also you repeated it. Doesn't matter if it's Shakespeare or not. There are 12 seconds for Amy. You gain another point for how to win friends, starting now.
People shouldn't have to win friends.
Peter Jones has challenged. Why?
A repetition of people.
I only said it once.
Really?
only
I thought
said
you
it
said
once.
it the time you spoke before.
Yes, but we've forgotten that. So Amy MacDonald has another point. And there are 9 seconds on how to win friends, Amy,
Oh.
starting now.
I don't want to win friends. I would like my friends to come to me.
Kenneth Williams has
You
challenged.
don't want to win them. Why are you discussing the subject of how to win friends?
Because she's got to keep going on the subject on the card, which is how to win friends. So she has another point and 5 seconds on how...
You're taking her out after us.
You might suggest the way I'm going, she might take me out after. No, it was quite a legitimate. She's got to keep going,
Well,
even
I'm
whether
not suggesting you're going out wouldn't be legitimate. Believe me.
whether she likes the subject on the card, whether she agrees with it, she still has to keep going on the subject, and it is how to win friends. There are 5 seconds for you, Amy, starting now.
I want to think my friends take me to their bosom because of my lovely way.
It's Williams' wife you
We're
challenge.
discussing how to win friends, not a lot of physical filth. I'm taking people to bosoms.
Well, if I wanted to win Amy's friendship, I could think of no nicer way of doing it. Ian Messenger just swallowed his whistle on that last. Because he had it in his mouth ready to blow it, you see. Not for the... I see, he can't laugh and have a whistle in his mouth at the same time. It blows. Because there's only 1 second for Amy to go on with how to win friends, starting now.
Winning friends
Well, Amy MacDonald's winning ways that appeal to everybody, obviously, has not only given her an extra point for speaking when the whistle went, but also given her a very definite lead at the end of that round.
You're joking.
No, I'm not. And the subject is with you, Amy. It's your turn to begin. It's a complete follow-up from the other one. How to influence people. So can you talk about that subject? Don't look at me, please. And 60 seconds starting now.
If you're a girl, it should be very easy, really. All you have to do is sit on somebody's knee, cuddle up to them, bat your eyelashes at them, say very sweetly how nice they are, and I'm sure you...
Clement Freud's challenge. Why?
Deviation.
Why?
Exactly the same if you're a boy.
Yes, but this is one of those difficult things. I was thinking the same, it's exactly the same if you're a boy, and she hasn't established whose knee she was sitting on anyway. But
Ah, brilliant! Oh, you are now clever. He's clever, though, isn't he? Blimey, there's no flies on him, eh? Oh, that was brilliant. You should have been a barrister. Oh, you better be the Old Bailey rolling, wouldn't you? That's incredible, isn't it? Really incredible.
I must explain the last laugh because Kenneth Williams put his foot up on the desk.
Lovely family. I got a bunion. Shut up.
Well, keep your bunions to yourself when we're playing just a minute. Because actually, she was still talking about one way, certainly, on how to influence people, not the only way. So it was an incorrect challenge. Amy MacDonald has another point. 47 seconds. How to influence people, Amy, starting now.
If I wanted to influence Clement, I would tickle his beard, tweak his ear, and pinch his nose, and then I'm sure he would do practically anything I wanted him to.
Clement Freud.
Deviation.
Why?
Anything.
You wouldn't do absolutely anything.
Yes, anything. She said practically anything.
Well, in that case, you're
I said
agreeing with her.
anything.
Oh, she's agreeing.
Yes,
I
it's
thought
not
you
enough.
challenge and say I wouldn't do absolutely anything, and therefore it would have been
She said
deviation.
practically anything.
No, you have agreed with Amy.
Yes,
It's therefore you've agreed with her. Thank you very much for...
I'd like to agree again.
No, I'm only going to give her 1 point. She's doing so well, she doesn't need your charity. She's doing it all on her own.
Will you
32
let her go on? I want to know what happens after she's tweaked his nose.
Without any assistance.
Don't pay any attention. Just carry on and give as full a description as you possibly can. Don't be inhibited in any way.
Or demonstration.
Oh, dear.
Clement Freud's asked for a demonstration, and, well, there are 32 seconds for you to tell us how to influence people, Amy, starting now.
If I wanted to influence Kenneth, I would play just a minute with him without buzzing him for anything like hesitation, deviation, or repetition, and I would let him mamble on to his heart's content, talking about anything and everything, from doing his nut to the King of Siam. And he'd be very, very pleased with me, you see.
Peter Jones, a challenge. Why?
Repetition of very.
I thought your challenge would be I wanted to talk about me now.
Well, I do. I thought she'd get on to me next. You see.
Well, that's a
Don't
very
hurry
good
up.
way of getting
There
her
won't
in.
be
So
any seconds
Amy
left.
MacDonald has another point, and she's now going to talk about Peter Jones on how to influence people starting now.
Oh, dear.
Amy MacDonald
Not a
has...
very promising start.
Amy MacDonald, you've challenged yourself.
Yes, I hesitated.
There's no flies on this one, are there? The longest hesitation we've ever had in just a minute, and they were all so chivalrous. Amy got in the challenge. I quite agree, Amy, you did hesitate. So she gets a point for Peter Jones's challenge and a point for her own challenge. And she has 3 seconds left. How to influence people starting now.
It's terribly easy, really, if you know what you are doing.
Well, Amy MacDonald seems to know what she's doing because she gained a tremendous number of points on how to win friends and now on how to influence people. She has 14 points at the end of that round. And she has an impregnable... I'm so sorry, that's a very good choice of adjective, but it's an impregnable lead over Clement Freud and Kenneth Williams and Peter Jones, who are both equal in 3rd place. Peter Jones, your turn to begin it, and EMS is keeping the theme going. How to win at... Oh, no, not quite. How to win at just a minute. I think it follows quite well. How to win a Just a Minute is the subject. 60 seconds starting now.
I often dream of this happening to me, and I'd like to paint, first of all, a picture of the event as it is happening. On my right is our chairman on a raised platform, thoughtfully provided by the BBC, or as it is known on Just a Minute as the British Broadcasting Corporation. Beside him, Ian Messiter, whistle and clock in hand. And over on the other side of this makeshift platform, I can see the faces of Kenneth Williams and also the one belonging to Clement Freud. And as they stand...
Amy MacDonald is challenged. Why?
Deviation.
Yes, he's not talking about how to win a Just a
On the
Minute.
contrary.
About setup.
No, you're
Yes, I
telling...
have
I
to
quite
set it
agree
up
with
first.
you.
You have to set it up for you so they can win it, don't you?
But not in 45 seconds. No,
Yes,
he's
I'm
not...
just about to start to show you how to win.
You didn't start soon enough. You were talking about the setup or the composition of Just a Minute, not how to win Just a Minute. So I agree with the correct challenge from Amy MacDonald. And there are 19 seconds left, Amy,
She's
starting...
well in with him this week, isn't she?
Grandeur of it, isn't it?
19 seconds, Amy MacDonald. How to win a Just a Minute starting now.
I really wish I knew. Unfortunately,
Kenneth Williams is challenged. Why?
Well, if she doesn't know, shut up. Shut up, shut up.
Why are you challenging?
The deviation.
No, she's still talking.
No, we're supposed to be
winning.
talking about how to win Just a Minute. She says, I really wish I knew.
She doesn't know.
She can't discuss it. Well, then shut up.
No, if she
I'll
shuts up...
tell her how to do it. Now, this is the way you do it. You start
No,
off by
when
not...
she hesitates, you can get in, and then you can have her. Until...
I beg your pardon. I beg your...
16 seconds. 16 seconds for you, Amy MacDonald. Having got another point, how to win a Just a Minute starting now. Clement Freud challenge.
Hesitating. Can I have that?
You said your joke so quickly, I didn't all get it. It was a very good... Give him a point for a very witty...
Sally.
Sally, yes. But he got in two... Amy MacDonald has another point for an incorrect challenge. 14 seconds. How to win a Just a Minute starting now.
you come in, you sit down at your little desk, you hold your little buzzer in your hand.
Clement Freud is challenged. Why?
Repetition of little.
Yes, there were too many littles.
Really?
Yes, little...
Little desk and a little
Little
buzzer.
desk, a little buzzer. Clement Freud, you have another point, and there are 10 seconds. How to win a Just a Minute starting now.
You look at Amy MacDonald and you say, I will do it. I've got to. I must. No one will stop me.
On this occasion, Clement Freud was speaking when the whistle went. He gained a couple of extra points, but he's still quite a way behind our leader, who is still Amy MacDonald. Kenneth Williams, your turn to begin. The subject is balderdash. You were accused of speaking a certain amount of that last week, but can you talk to us on the subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
I should have liked to have had notice of this, because it is something which is really alien to my nature. I generally talk eminently good sense. People have said to me, "Oh, one intellect you've got," and hardly likely will it
Amy
be.
MacDonald is challenged. Why?
Well, that was hesitation, wasn't it?
Well, I thought it was
Ah.
too, yes.
Either that or an impediment, I don't know.
So, as no one, I will put it to the audience. Because
Don't put it to them.
All right, then. Amy MacDonald has another point, and there are 39 seconds for balderdash, Amy, starting now.
Balderdash is such a gorgeous word. It's very round, and it means so much, and yet it can mean absolutely nothing at all.
Kenneth Williams, Michael
Two
Chuck.
means.
Yes.
Very round and it can mean so much, and you could absolutely mean nothing
Yes,
at
you're
all.
quite right,
I
yes.
really repeat myself.
You look very self-righteous about your challenge. Kenneth, I agree with your challenge. You have another point, 31 seconds on balderdash, starting now.
It generally is taken to mean talking nonsense about something or another. And, of course, there are very many people in this world who thrive on this kind of thing. I mentioned Hancock undoubtedly believes that this is indulged in by politicians continually. And, of course, if one reads Hansard...
Clement Freud, Michael Challenge.
Repetition of course.
This was more than one, of course. I thought you were going to have him for ha-ha or something. Clement, you have another point. It was a rather tough challenge. 9 seconds, balderdash, starting now.
When Mr. Dash lost his hair, Many people said, "Oh, there goes Balderdash." Prior to this,
Clement Freud was then speaking when the whistle went, gained the extra point, but is still a little bit behind our leader, Amy MacDonald. Kenneth Williams and Peter Jones are now equal, quite a way behind in third place. Clement Freud, your turn to begin. The subject, the horse. Can you talk to us about the horse for 60 seconds, starting now?
a poet whose name escapes me said, "I know two things about a horse, and one of them is rather coarse." There are other makers of verse who have used this quadruped, this equine thing with 4 legs, to symbolize all that is best in this country. My horse, our horse, my kingdom for the horse. A king said,
Amy MacDonald is challenged. Why?
Repetition.
Of
Horse,
what?
horse, my king.
You're allowed to. It's the subject.
All right. You're allowed to repeat the subject on the card,
Are
Amy,
you?
and the subject
I'm
is the horse.
sorry.
No, don't
For goodness
apologize.
sake, get with it, girl.
Listen,
Take your nice poultice off.
she's so with it, she's got 18 points, and nobody's had that number of points for ages.
Yeah, we all know how she's got them, dear. We all know about the rendezvous afterwards.
They were all lovely points.
Why?
Go on.
Well, all that rainbow trout and the white wine sauce, all that she was giving her.
What was the challenge? Oh, yes, Amy. Don't apologize for challenging. We just must explain to you. You're allowed to repeat the word on the card, and Clement was doing that. He has 33 seconds for the horse, starting now.
"It was a horse that brought the good news from Aix to Ghent. I sprang to the stirrups and jogged and he..."
Peter Jones' challenge. Why?
I thought it was brought from Gaunt to Aix.
I think it was, wasn't it?
No, it was not. No, 8 again.
And a horse brought it back, so it's entirely irrelevant.
Well, there seems to be some divergence of opinion in the audience.
There's no convergence of opinion. The facts are the facts, dear. It's how I brought the good news from 8 again.
Clement Freud, I think your direction was the more favoured one. And so, you have the subject who have gained a point for an incorrect challenge, and there are 27 seconds, the horse, starting now.
I sprang to the stirrups and jogged and he. I galloped, he more than cantered. The other man did much, much less than...
Amy MacDonald's challenge, one.
Repetition, much.
There was too much, yes. And Amy, you have a point, and there are 20 seconds for the horse, starting now.
The horse, I think, is the most beautiful animal there is, with its lovely long, slim legs and beautiful shiny coat and long...
Clement Freud's challenge,
The
why?
repetition of beautiful.
Yes. And, of course, some of them have very thick legs, too, don't they, the old cart horses? But your correct challenge, Clement, you take the subject back and a point, the horse, starting now.
Horse racing in this country, which involves the horse, is one of the great industries giving employment to a vast number of people, not only in the fields of bookmaking, betting, laying...
Well, there we are. There was neck and neck as you felt the tension like we did up here on the platform at the end, because there are 2 people in that particular game. I haven't told you, by the way, we have no more time for this edition of Just a Minute. Peter Jones and Kenneth Williams, in spite of saying a great deal, weren't really in the contest point-wise. They had just a few little points between them, equal in third place. And literally, Amy MacDonald and Clement Freud, neck and neck throughout, all legitimately won
Necking
point.
is right.
They both together are equal winners, are joint winners, Amy MacDonald and Clement Freud. I feel that Clement slowly whittled down Amy's lead, and Amy, not being quite so experienced, didn't quite get back enough to win, but it was a very, very fine result and a very fair one. And we do hope that you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute, and from all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Mester and produced by David Hatch. present Kenneth Williams, Clement Freud, Peter Jones, and Andre Melly in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parson.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Hello and welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once again, I am going to ask our four contestants if they can speak for just a minute on some unlikely subject that I will give them without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject that is written on the card in front of me. And according to how well they do this, they will gain points or their opponents will. And let us begin the show with Kenneth Williams. Kenneth, the subject for you to begin the show with, impulses. Can you talk to us about impulses for 60 seconds starting now?
Well, this is a word that covers a multitude of sins. You can have electrical impulses, and you can have, how often have we heard it? What a generous impulse. And, of course, I myself have on many occasions indulged in just that kind of thing. I saw an old lady hobbling round Russell Square. I said, well, you do...
Clement Freud has challenged you. Why?
Deviation.
Why?
You can't hobble around a square.
A very clever challenge, Clement, which definitely deserves a point, but as colloquially speaking one talks about going round a square if you're walking, I think it would be only fair to give Clement Freud a point for a good challenge. Leave the subject with Kenneth Williams. 33 seconds, Kenneth. Impulses starting now.
And, of course, I'm not going to...
Clement Freud has challenged you again.
Repetition of course.
You wicked so-and-so. It is perfectly correct, but when one has to gather steam and get going again, it is very difficult. All right, Clement, I agree with the challenge. It was legitimate. You gain a point for correct challenge. You take over the subject. Impulses, 31 seconds left, starting now.
Sitting quietly at my desk alongside Kenneth Williams, I perceived a most unpleasant sensation in my right knee and understood at once by the extraordinary expression on my friend's countenance that it was no less than his right forefinger sticking in...
Peter Jones has challenged. Why?
Repetition of right.
Exactly. There was a repetition of right. I thought you were going to have him for deviation, but you were most modest in that. And I would have allowed it too, because we can't have that sort of thing, as Kenneth so often says. It's a family show, isn't it, Kenneth?
Exactly.
Yes.
Family show. Good, clean entertainment. I could go on and on this subject. Are you giving me the subject?
No, you haven't
Oh.
got it. I agree with Peter's challenge. It was a repetition of right, so you gain a point, Peter. Take over the subject. 10.5 seconds. Impulses starting now.
When they are good and generous and constructive, I think they should be given into. On the other hand, when they are destructive and when they are...
It's wrong. It's wrong. That whistle tells us that 60 seconds is up, and whoever is speaking at that moment gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Peter Jones, so he gained the extra point, and he has 2 at the end of that round, and so has Clement Freud. They're equal in the lead. And, Clement Freud, your turn to begin. From impulses to hopes. Can you talk to us about hopes for 60 seconds, starting now?
My first hope when young was that I would encounter a willowy wench from West Wickham with whom I would pass the rest of my evenings in what could loosely be called companionship. And then, as time went on, I realized that this was a pretty shallow hope. So I met an old age pensioner from Croydon, and together we had such happy evenings going together
Andre
to
Melly
the
has
cinema
challenged. What?
and joining the Derby and Journey where... Yes?
Yes, you're ready for your challenge, are you, Clement? Andre, why is your challenge?
A deviation, because with that old age pensioner, charming as she might be, there could be no hope at all.
You don't know the old age pensioner, do you? And you obviously don't know Clement Freud.
You're
And after all,
extremely callous about old age people.
and also
Not
you can
nice.
be, I mean, there's hope always, wherever you may go. And,
Yes, it springs
no, I
eternal, doesn't it?
Oh, shut up, Clement. No, I do think it was a very good try, because, but I do think you can interpret that hopes in this particular way, the way Clement Freud was taking it. So I disagree with your challenge, Andre. Clement has another point. 30 seconds, hopes, Clement, starting now.
In maturity, my hopes took on a completely different countenance. Young girls, nubile nymphs, old...
Andre Melior's challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, I think the audience helped the hesitation there by laughing at the nubile nymphs and Clement Freud. So, Clement paused. Andre got in first. I agree, Andre. A point to you. 20 seconds for hope starting now.
Hopes this finds you as it leaves me, yours ever, Fred. This is a letter that I have kept over many years because it expresses one of nature's most charming attributes, a feeling that perhaps in the future we will enjoy happiness and good health. Man is always optimistic. This puts him...
Well, with great energy, Andre Melior kept going then right up to the whistle, gained the extra point for that.
Vitamin injection, look.
She was certainly hoping anyway. Andre, you have 2 points now alongside Peter Jones, but Clement Freud is in the lead with 3. And Andre, your turn to begin. Superstitions. Can you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
These are omens and things that happen. Some things that we see, which we feel will bring good fortune or bad luck. Actors are particularly superstitious, perhaps because more than other people, their future depends on the appreciation of an audience, and fortune takes a very important part. For instance, in the theatre, you must never say the last line of the play before you actually get to it on the first night. You mustn't mention a certain Scotch play written by Shakespeare. Why they haven't interrupted, because I've said the same word 6 times, I don't know. And whistling in the dressing room is particularly terrible. Somebody caught doing this has to go out of the room, knock on the door, I think turn round once, maybe again, before they can come back into the room.
Clement Freud, you challenge that.
Gallantry.
Yes. Yes, gallantry. She really dried up, so, that's not a challenge, Clement. What do you...
Hesitation.
Yes, all right. Hesitation. Yes, you let her go on all the other things until she dried up of her own accord. Clement Freud came in first. 1 point, Clement. 8 seconds. Superstition starting now.
I was accosted by a man.
Kenneth Williams, why your challenge?
Deviation. He's never been accosted in his life. So
Jealousy will get you nowhere.
Actually, I thought the deviation which you say was accosted by a man, but...
I've never said anything of the kind.
I know
He's
you
never been
didn't.
accosted in his life. Well, wash your ears out, you do, mate. That's your orals business scene, too.
I was suggesting... I was just suggesting something more devious than what you had referred to. That was all, Kenneth.
There's nothing devious about that either.
Oh, there is not.
Not
Right.
nowadays. You can be
Everybody's-
accosted by anybody. Monkeys are doing it now.
So I'll give you a point for a good challenge, but it wasn't, strictly speaking, deviating from the subject. So Clement keeps its superstition. 6 seconds starting now.
There are some who think that if you take out your top row of dentures and hang them...
Clement Freud was speaking when the whistle went. He gained the extra point, and he's increased his lead at the end of that round. We're back with you, Kenneth. Your turn to begin. The subject, Hadrian. Can you talk to us about him for 60 seconds, starting now?
I don't know very much, till he was proconsul in Britain and built that vast wall against the Picts and Scots, who were marauding like mad, going about in all that woad and those daft sort of paints. And then he went back to Rome, and there was this great lover, Antoninus, and he asked these sculptors to come and do a likeness of this boy, who I believe he elevated to godhead. He made him some sort of divinity in Roman mythology. Whether, of course, you have any respect for Roman mythology is neither here nor there.
Andre Melior has challenged.
2 Roman mythologies.
Yes, I'm afraid so, because we were fascinated. He said he didn't know much about it, but I thought he was most informative.
Would you like to go on? Because I wouldn't like to.
No, you've got it now. Right, keep your buzzers ready. 32 seconds on Hadrian. Andre, starting now.
He got hold of the left leg of my jeans and pulled it, a very vicious white bull terrier by the name of Hadrian, belonging to friends of mine. I've always been particularly frightened of this species of dog and thought that the name was soldier-like and suitable for this particular animal. I don't want to say any more about it.
Jones got in then.
Hesitation.
Yes, indeed, Peter. You have the subject of Hadrian. 8 seconds, starting now.
His job, as I understand it, was to consolidate the territories that had been won by his...
Kenneth Williams, why have you challenged?
Repetition, I've already said that. Build the walls, keep out the pigs and Scots who were marauding. I've already said that.
Yes, you've said it in different words, and after all, you can, as long as
Repetitions down here is a rule of the game. Repetition. That applies to themes.
But he hasn't, Peter has
How
not yet...
dare you!
I must explain to the listeners that actually what happened was Kenneth got up and took his jacket off to me, so I took mine off to him and he sat down again.
It wasn't to have a fight, I was not.
Well, I must point out I am a little bit bigger than Kenneth.
I was not, though.
I'm hot too, really. You've no need to illustrate to us how hot you are, Kenneth. This is a clean show.
Sorry.
Peter Jones had not repeated himself in this particular situation, so it is not a correct challenge. Peter has a point. 6 seconds. Hadrian, starting now.
One of the best 4-year-olds in training won the Melbourne Cup in 1912, written by...
Peter Jones is speaking when the whistle went, gained the extra point, and he's doing some creeping up now. And Clement Freud, your turn to begin. The Leaning Tower of Pisa. Can you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
The Leaning Tower of Pisa, if you go and see it now, tends to lean, which is not surprising in view of its name. But in fact, it was built as a completely straight erection, after which people turned around and said, "How boring is this pillar?" and unleveled the field in which it was constructed, so that the ground now slopes at an angle of something like 12.5 degrees from one end to the other. And on this slope is this completely vertical column.
Andre, you challenge first.
Hesitation.
Yes, Andre, you have a point, and you have 23 seconds. The Leaning Tower of Pisa starting now.
If you are a tourist and you go to Italy, you are expected to go and have a look at this object, which is pretty boring.
Kenneth Williams, why have you challenged?
Deviation. If you go as a tourist to Italy, you're not expected to do anything.
What a very difficult thing for me to judge
She's
on.
having us believe that the Italians are standing there saying, "We expect you to look at the Pisa. Go and have a look." They're not doing anything of the kind. Half of them couldn't care less, and they're rather bored with the sight of you all swarming over their lovely country.
Yeah.
You think you best keep out of their places.
They're probably hoping that you're looking at it, but I don't think they expect you to look at it. I think that's a legitimate challenge.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Give the subject to me.
Yes. You have a point of the subject. 15 seconds, starting now.
Giuseppe Balsamo was asked to build this vast edifice. He said, of course, he said, by running a vertical rod up the middle. Here.
Jones, why do you challenge the
Well,
vertical?
I don't agree that it's a vast edifice. It's, after all, only 224 feet high.
Are you going on, or are you...
No, but I don't think it's a vast edifice.
Now, when does a small edifice become a vast edifice? This is where a chairman's job becomes impossible. Vio Jimmy Bigetti, whatever his name was, probably in those days he considered it to be a fairly vast edifice, but after all there were no Empire State Buildings in those days, so I think according to his idea it was vast, so Kenneth has another point, and 5 seconds, Leaning Tower of Pisa starting now.
So he went across to Louis XIII, who happened to be passing by, and he said, "You know Coventry Street Corner House."
So in that round, Kenneth Williams did the creeping. And Andre, it's your turn to begin. The subject is tadpoles. Can you talk to us about that? The audience seemed amused at that. Anyway, 60 seconds starting now.
These are fascinating little creatures which come from... Oh, I forgot what it's called.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, yes. Her frog's born stuck in her throat. And Kenneth got in first. There are 53 seconds on tadpoles, Kenneth, starting now.
Tad, as you can see by consulting the Oxford English Dictionary, is a small rag. The pole on which these bits of rag were festooned became known as the tadpole. And the later development of this is, of course, the maypole, which everyone used to dance around singing, "There are great skies just around the corner, there are great clouds passing through the sky, and so it's raining, but I'm still the land because we knew, God, it's here, it's empty, but what's the matter?"
You were challenged in the middle of your dance, Kenneth.
He always comes in on the end, you know that, Nick.
He came in the middle then, right in the middle of the song. But we waited till the end. We let you finish the song. We didn't understand a word of it, but Clement Troy challenged first. Yes,
I
Clement.
understood 2 words, and they were both red skies, guys.
Well, you were closest, so I'll take your word for it, Clement. You have a point. 26 seconds for tadpole starting now.
When I was young, I knew that tadpoles came from butterflies and turned into frogs, which later became eaten by vile Frenchmen who put flour, egg, and breadcrumbs.
Andre Melly has challenged. Why?
Load of rubbish.
Of course
there,
it
Henry.
is.
Well, that's
You were a bit
what
late
I
with
thought.
your challenge, weren't
That's
you?
Well,
what
because I knew it'd have some clever reason to get it back at you. You
I
wait,
said
you
that's
have
what
it.
I
You wait.
thought when I was young.
There you are. You see,
Well, that's what I said. You
He
should be
did
listening.
actually say, yes, you're quite right. So Clement has another point. There are 13 seconds for tadpole starting now.
And then I went to botany lessons and learned the error of my ways. A tadpole is frog spawn which matures, and arbiters of taste will be pleased to hear that frogs have very little fun.
You can't allow to give Clement any quarter. You know how clever he is at the game. Clement Freud has gained a very definite lead at the end of that round, and Peter Jones, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is cunning. Can you talk to us about that starting now?
I suppose the most remarkable exponent of cunning was Machiavelli, and I've no doubt that Kenneth will interrupt me very shortly and tell me all about him. He wrote a wonderful book called The Prince, which I feel all politicians have studied very carefully, and in a nutshell, the message is that the end justifies the means. And this in the...
Kenneth did challenge you.
Well, I think it's disgraceful
Hesitation.
that he should quote me as an authority on Machiavelli. I mean,
He
is it
wasn't
right?
actually,
I
Kenneth.
sit here a fair-haired example of sprightly youth, don't I? I'm beautiful.
Yes,
I'm
you're
lovely,
absolutely-
I'm
you're the
direct,
epitome
I'm
of it.
honest.
You're the
Who would
absolute
associate
embodiment.
me with cunning and
Yes,
deviousness?
absolutely, but he wasn't. He was stuck on how to keep going on the subject of cunning, which I suddenly threw at him, and the only thing he could think to say was that perhaps you would interrupt him and tell him all about Machiavellian cunning. And it was quite a clever way to keep on cunning, you see. But you got him then on hesitation, which was quite legitimate, so you have 30 seconds to take over. Starting now.
Cunning is, of course, the using of ulterior motivation in order to achieve your object. Now, this is something totally alien to the English spirit. Here in this country, we've been taught the war is won on the playing fields of Eton. How true that is. Even today, we see those lads going out there with their sabres flashing, and there's nothing like a flashing sabre to get you.
I think you got in just in time. The idea of them going on the playing fields of Eton with their sabres flashing, really. Somebody did challenge you. Actually, it was Andre Melly, but you did it a fraction after the bell, so there we are. You have leapt forward.
Oh, God!
From 4th place to 2nd place.
Well, I've never won in the series, let's face it.
You used to win quite a lot.
Not in this
Ken-
series, I ain't.
No. The dice are stacked against you, but you
Stacked
give us...
against me, you
Yes,
see.
but you gave us great value, Kenneth.
Well, thank you, Nick. You are kind.
Yeah. Kenneth Williams, it's your turn to begin again. The subject, Wednesday. Can you talk to us about Wednesday for 60 seconds starting now?
Haply I can, for it is named after Woden, the god, of course, of war. Norse, actually. That is Norse folk.
Oh, Clement Freud has challenged you.
2 Norse.
2 Norse. So, Clement, a correct challenge. Repetition of Norse, 49 seconds, Wednesday, starting now.
Wednesday is the 3rd or 4th day of the week, depending on whether you count Sunday as being the first or last.
Kenneth Williams, Wyfield challenge.
Yes, in the words of Wednesday, we're not discussing Sunday.
But he was establishing where in the week Wednesday came. I think he
We
made
all
that
know
quite
that. Everyone here knows that. They don't want that. What do you think they are? A load of idiots? Me telling where Wednesday comes?
Yes, you've got to keep talking, even if you talk to people as if they're telling them information they already know. And anyway, it was very interesting.
Oh, you think so?
Yes. Depending whether you
I'll throb him with here, I am.
Well, throb a little more with Clement Freud.
Rubbish.
All
The
right.
best you can do, 3rd day of the week. I want to give up.
Or 4th day, whichever way you like to have it. So Clement has another point, 40 seconds on Wednesday. And I must tell the listeners that he's about to start again with intimidation from Kenneth Williams, who's sitting beside him. Wednesday, Clement, 40 seconds, starting now.
The Normans had a saying of, if Wednesday's here, Thursday cannot be far behind. And the Royal Society for the Propagation of Uplifting Tuesday to Wednesday status never caught on.
Andre Merry, Wyfield challenge.
It was a slip of the thumb.
You cannot afford them in this game because whoever is speaking gains a point for an incorrect challenge. This case is Clement Freud again.
How many
26
times is he allowed to say Wednesday? That's what it was really.
Well,
Oh, you're allowed for.
you have to leave it to my discretion, depending how often and with what space of
well, but a
time.
repetition, he'd said it too many times.
He hadn't. He's still got another point. 26 seconds for Wednesday, starting now.
Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week, because that is the night my friends
Peter Jones has challenged the
He's
repetition.
talking about Saturday night.
Yes, a
and,
repetition of night, Peter, so you have another point. And, there are 23 seconds for Wednesday, starting now.
Very little happens on it as a rule. I can remember many that I've enjoyed. They started at about 7 o'clock in the morning in various parts of the world, and the afternoon of Wednesday is a holiday.
Andre Melly challenged.
A
what?
hesitation.
He didn't. He paused almost enough to hesitate. You were a bit keen. His or came out. It's a funny way to put it, isn't it? Actually, didn't know whether to say or something else, but the O came into an or. I disagree with the challenge. 4 seconds on Wednesday, Peter, starting now.
Holiday in Doncaster and also in Warrington. And so if you happen to be...
Peter Jones is then speaking when the whistle went. He gains the extra point, and he has leapt forward. It is a very tight neck-and-neck game. And Clement Freud, your turn to begin. The subject, close to your heart, I know, racing. Can you talk to us about it? 60 seconds, starting now.
Racing close to one's heart is one of the most dangerous things, as any medical expert will tell you. The beat of that organ, which I'm not supposed to mention again, should be around 18 to 23 a minute. And yet when it's racing, when the speed is upwards of 40, then the blood pumps through your veins, your head swims, an excess of nitrogen may well enter your stream, and the system fades out, whereby the only thing you can do is phone the undertaker shortly.
Peter Jones' challenge, why?
Well, I thought I'd better ring the buzzer. He seemed to be about to expire.
You mean, obviously, if he's faded out, he couldn't phone the Undertaker.
That's exactly.
Exactly, thank you. And after all, if you're going to go on Undertakers and Death, and this, I'm afraid, is the last subject for which we have time for in this particular round. So, Peter Jones, you have a point, and you have 21 seconds for racing, starting now.
Well, before we wind up on this subject, I would like to say that I used to do it with pigeons when I was a small boy. And it was great fun sending them in baskets on the train, sometimes as far as the Channel Islands or even the coast of France. They used to fly back. They were...
Peter, we're deeply indebted to you. At the end of this particular edition of Just a Minute, you left us with that particular thought in our minds, because none of us know how you managed to do it. I'm afraid we have no more time, so it remains for me to give you the final score. Equal in third place were Andre Melly and Kenneth Williams, and they were 4 points behind Peter Jones, who, in spite of a last little rush there, didn't catch up, our leader, who remained throughout and still is this week's winner, Clement Freud. I'm sorry we have no more time to play Just a Minute because we have enjoyed playing the game as usual. From all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch. We present Kenneth Williams, Clement Freud, Peter Jones, and Andre Melly in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, and welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once again, I'm going to ask our 4 contestants to speak, if they can, for just a minute, on some unlikely subject, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject which is written on the card. And according to how well they do this, they will gain points, or their opponents will. And we'll begin the show this week with Clement Freud. Clement, cooking an octopus. That's the subject that Ian Messiter has thought of for you. Will you talk to us about it for 60 seconds, starting now?
Actually, the best parts of an octopus are the legs. And in cooking an octopus...
Peter Jones, why do you challenge?
Octopus doesn't have legs.
What does it have?
Tentacles.
Well done, Peter. So, right away, Peter, you've got in there with a very sharp challenge, I agree. You have 54 seconds, because you were a correct challenge, and you've gained a point. Cooking an octopus, starting now.
Of course, there are many types of octopus, and you cook them all in quite...
Andre Melly has challenged. Why?
If they're types, they're octopi.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, yes, plural. It's absolutely right. Oh, it's brilliant. Oh, it's clever.
Well, of course, that is grammatically correct, but you do have this problem when you're trying to speak on Just a Minute with 3 people waiting to challenge you, whether you use a sort of colloquial phrase that a lot of people
No,
probably
I
would
disagree. You don't necessarily make it into a plural when you say types. You don't say there are a lot of types of Mellies. You say there are many types of Melly.
Yes, I agree, but she has a grammatical point. and I
If you
think
did, you get mixed up with a melee in a football match. I mean, there's a great melee, don't there?
So I'll tell you what I will do. As I agree that you must speak colloquial to keep going, and grammatically you might have been considered a bit error, I will ask the audience to be the final judge on this rather difficult situation. If you agree with Andre's challenge, would you cheer her? And if you disagree, will you boo? And will you all do it together now? Octopuses. Have the day. Peter, you gain another point for an incorrect challenge. You keep the subject, and you have 47 seconds. Cooking an octopus, starting now.
The large, old ones, for instance, have to be bashed about a lot in order to make them tender and, in fact, edible. But the smaller variety, if they are dried in the sun, on a rock, for instance, rather like a raisin, I've often seen this in Cyprus and in parts of Greece they do this, then they slice the tentacles very thinly, like bacon, fry them in olive oil with a little garlic or some other kind of herb or flavoring, and serve them with a salad of lettuce and olives and anchovies, possibly tomatoes. On the other hand, if you prefer a more solid dish with potatoes and spaghetti or even
Andre Melly got in just before the whistle went. Why do you challenge?
He's trying to do Clement Freud out of a job, and I
And
don't
he's-
think it's fair.
And he's done Clement Freud out of a job. It was Clement's subject specially chosen for him. I think, why do you challenge then? Hesitation,
Well,
repetition.
because he's an old friend of mine. I don't like to see it happening.
Clement, you have
I should
support
wait till
from
you
this
taste the octopus.
So, you think it's deviation, do you?
Yes.
I disagree, I'm afraid. So Peter Jones has another point. Peter's got a friend in the audience, they clap. And there's 1 second on cooking an octopus, Peter, starting now.
Open a flat loaf.
So, the subject of an octopus which was chosen for Clement Freud, Peter Jones gave us a very interesting dissertation on how to cook it. At the end of that round, the first round, there's only one person who scored any points. It's Peter Jones. He has a commanding lead of 4 over all the others. Andre... Peter, you have more than one friend in the audience, I realise. Andre Melly.
My mouth was watering. You made it sound so succulent.
Yes, I must say. And I want to be over there in that lovely holiday atmosphere.
I want to be basking in it.
Andre, Nelly, your turn to begin the next round. The subject, bills. Can you talk to us about that? 60 seconds starting now.
Bill's my eldest brother. He's 3 years older than I am, and he's married. He's got 3 children called Louisa, James, Richard, charming wife, and a lovely house. In fact, you could say Bill's got just about everything that makes a man happy today in this world in which we live. There are another kind of...
Peter Jones challenge, why?
I think there was a suggestion of hesitation there.
Well, do you want to say hesitation or not?
Yes,
All
I'm
right.
just trying to be polite, you know.
Right, you were being polite, but I agree there was a definite hesitation. Peter, I agree with the challenge. You get the subject, and you gain a point, of course. 39 seconds on bills starting now.
They arrive at the same season of the year, time after time, in January.
Clement Freud is challenged.
Repetition.
Yes, and time after time. You've got to watch these phrases, you know. And Clement, you gain a point for a correct challenge. 34 seconds on bills starting now.
The Great Reform Bill and that which I receive each Friday from my milkman are just 2 which I can very easily do without. The police in Adelaide, sometimes pronounced otherwise by Australians, but I could never get the hang of it, no longer send out accounts in respect of parking fines, but give you an immediate...
Kenneth Williams, a challenge. Why?
Yes, and he's discussing accounts and the police in Australia. We're talking about bills. Bills is the subject, not accounts.
I think
accounts
he had
are quite other than bills.
I think he had established that he'd gone on to accounts rather than bills, and
Well, then it's deviation.
So yes, so you gain a point, and the subject 9 seconds on bills, Kenneth, starting now.
There is only one thing to do about bills, and that is pay them. And anyone that has the temerity...
On this occasion, Kenneth Williams was speaking when the whistle went, which tells us, of course, that 60 seconds is up. He gained the extra point, and he's in second place, trailing a little behind Peter Jones. And Peter, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is tourists. Can you talk to us about them for 60 seconds, starting now?
Nobody really likes to think that they are tourists.
Kenneth Williams, why have you challenged?
Completely inaccurate. I love to be a tourist. I don't want to go all over the place
He does.
looking at things.
Yes, he does.
I just love it.
Yes,
So
well,
the whole
you...
statement's inaccurate, therefore it's deviation.
Well, you see,
Well argued.
Thank you, Clem. Isn't it lovely?
it's very well
Just
argued.
because I happen to be in the lead for the first time in 16 weeks, they're getting together.
You can be sure of one thing, Peter. If anybody gets in the lead, they get together.
Exactly.
But at the present moment, I think it's a, it's a matter of argument. It was well argued by Kenneth Williams, but I disagree with his argument because I think if you're going to discuss the subject of tourists, you can put forward a point of view, which is Peter Jones's on this occasion about tourists. He keeps the subject. 55 seconds left, starting now.
They're not popular, even with travel agents. You often hear them referred to as hordes. Now, this is not a friendly way of describing visitors to one's country who are bringing money.
Kenneth Williams has challenged again.
Deviation, travel agents adore tourism. I mean, this is rubbish. He's talking a load of rubbish. And moreover, he is giving a very, very bad stigma to the whole thing. Now, we as a country
All right,
should be
Kenneth.
welcoming these lovely people who come in and bring us in
all right,
invisible
Kenneth.
export.
Kenneth,
Invisible
Kenneth.
Imports. Invisible imports. They are.
Kenneth, before your teeth fall out, I would say on this occasion, I think your good argument convinces me, and I will give the benefit of the doubt to you, because I do think travel agents do like tourists.
Of course,
How else could
lovely.
they exist?
Lovely.
Kenneth, you have a point, and you have the subject of tourists, and there are 44 seconds left, starting now.
Englishmen used to be, in the 19th century, the greatest tourists in the world. In fact, everyone used to say the grand tour had to be done. And Ruskin, in his famous Stones of Venice recounts this delightful adventure in the open barouche with this friend with a chinchilla muff sitting beside him.
Andre Melly's challenge.
Well, it's very interesting, but he's talking about a tour now, not about tourists.
But tourists make tours. I thought you were going to be very clever and have him on the chinchilla. Oh, no, I thought it was chinchilla. Sorry. No. I disagree with her challenge, because tourists have to make tours, Kenneth. You have the subject still another point, and 19 seconds starting now.
When I went up the Parthenon, I couldn't believe the sweat was rolling off. And so I called this charming taverna, and they gave me a great flagon of Retsina, a lovely bit of fried mullet, then a bit of steak. Oh, what a time I had! I've won now.
Kenneth, you had a throbbing then with your
I
adventures
must be in the lead now.
No. You've done very well. You made a...
Well, how far have I got?
You've got quite far enough. You're just 1 point behind our leader, who is still Peter Jones. But you did leap forward, I must say. Kenneth, it's your turn to begin. Perhaps you've got another chance here. What I do when nobody is looking. That's a very good subject that because we've heard some very funny stories about what you do on this program when nobody's looking. But can you talk to us about the subject for just a minute, starting now?
What I do when nobody is looking is roughly the same thing that everybody else does. And that is indulge their private fantasy. A psychopathic creature is described as someone who does this when the symbol of authority is removed, be it mother, father, policeman, or whatever. In this case, I qualify for the term because I must be some kind of manic exhibitionist privately. In the bathroom, the fancies I pull and the voices I do are fantasia. I've often shot myself and thought, oh, how can you? I mean, here, in the privacy of a tiny room like this, indulge in such extraordinary flights, yet never do I tire. Always I go on. I must be in the lead.
Well, Kenneth
I must be in the lead now.
Oh, right, you're in the lead. Clement Freud, your turn to begin. And subject for you, Clement, perfidy. Can you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
I once knew a man who lectured on accountancy at a catering college, and every day he would turn up punctually at 9:30, sit at his desk, pull out a pen, and get working on the perfidy loss accounts, which were in the left-hand drawer of his large mahogany desk. Perfidy, loss, he used to say, not wishing to repeat the last word as it was not on the card, and therefore more perfidy, which made it all right. And yet there are some who felt that perfidy was more...
Kenneth wins the challenge. Why?
Hesitation.
Yes, with justification. Kenneth, I agree with your hesitation, and there are 21 seconds for perfidy starting now.
Perfidy, of course, means to be on the side.
Clement Freud has challenged you. Why?
Deviation.
Why?
Well, perfidy, of course, doesn't mean anything.
Of course. Clement Freud, you
I
have the
hadn't
subject.
gone on to describe. I could have said means nonsense, couldn't I? I hadn't been given a chance. I was sitting here, minding my own business, and before I could do a blooming thing, they leapt on me like a load of hungry wolves, ravenous.
Well, I think that Clement felt if he didn't leap then, somebody else might.
Well, he talked a load of rubbish, and you know it.
I know, but you never challenged him for his rubbish, did you? You challenged him for hesitation,
I
which
gonna
was
say
justified.
what I thought the word meant. I thought it was rather nice. But I'm not going to now, so stick it.
Well, I'm glad you told us what you were going to say, what you thought it was, because you've admitted now that Clement Freud's challenge was entirely justified. So, Clement, you have a point, and there are 18 seconds for perfidy starting now.
Incontentiousness is nothing to do with the word at all.
Kenneth Williams, why do you challenge?
He's just borrowed deviation. He's just said it's a word, and having formally admitted that it's not a word.
Of course, an incontentious has got nothing to do with prosody, because prosody is not correct. So, Kenneth, you've got the subject back of prosody. Can you talk to us about it now for 12 seconds, starting now?
When and I was but a little tiny boy with hi, the wind, the rain, and the rain rains every day.
Kenneth was challenged. Why?
Repetition of hi. Hi, the wind rays.
Oh, yes, he did say that. What a pity.
I didn't. I said hey ho, which two
That's
different
right, he
sounds
did.
entirely.
Not very clearly.
Such a mouth, how dare
You didn't think very clearly.
you? Oh, he's doing impersonation. You see that?
Well, it is difficult sometimes, Kenneth. I mean, you do get carried away with your own exuberance.
It's Festy, the clown, talks nonsense.
I
That's what
know.
the word's about. Nonsense, isn't it?
But it's sometimes difficult to understand you, Kenneth.
Oh, sorry.
Right. And you have the subject still of prosody, and there are 8 seconds starting now.
All words can be coined, and Mr. Herpin, who did Philo to love and Attilia freedom from tax, made up Philatin.
Kenneth Williams very cleverly kept going on a word, if you haven't already guessed it, actually does mean nothing at all. It doesn't mean nothing at all. It is not a true word. And so by keeping going and speaking when the whistle went, gaining that extra point, he has really leapt forward into a commanding lead at the end of that round.
So there you are, Peter Jones.
Why you should say that to Peter Jones when you were in rival with
Because he was
Clement
so smug when he was 4 in the lead. He was so smug. He was sitting there like a cat with a cream. Wasn't he, Clem?
He had a reason to be. Hasn't played the game as often as you have, Kenneth.
I've not won in this series, you liar! Oh, my word.
The series is still young.
I'm not a meeting. Oh, run,
Andre Melly, after all that, we come to you, and your turn to begin. The subject, how I apply my mascara. Will you talk to us about it for 60 seconds starting now?
Well, I spit in it. I do find this is the best method. It's a little box, and I have a small brush which I dip in the so-mentioned saliva and apply it to the upper lashes of my eyes. There is a different kind of mascara brush, which is like a miniature lavatory brush.
Kenneth Williams has challenge.
Repetition, 2 brushes.
The 3 brushes, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So, Kenneth, the correct challenge, you gain the subject, and there are 40... 42 seconds. The audience are enjoying the thought, and you seem quite full of equanimity about it. How I apply my mascara, Kenneth. 42 seconds starting now.
Well, it was my mascara, that much is certain, and it was in a film studio that it was applied, but it was done by a very charming young lady, who, I am thankful to say, did not spit, as his name recommends, into anything, but on the contrary, moistened the brush from fresh tap water, and with loving care applied... Here, who's got the nerve?
Peter Jones has got the nerve.
A deviation. He's telling about this young lady who applied his mascara. He should be talking about how he applies his
You're
mascara.
quite right. The subject is how I apply my mascara, and you were talking about how the young lady applied your mascara. So that is a correct challenge. And Peter has a point, and there are 15 seconds with you, Peter, on how I apply my mascara. Starting now.
Listeners may not be aware that I am prematurely grey. And when I play a part which requires my hair to be black, I have to apply mascara. And to do this, I use 2 large...
So, Peter Jones is then speaking when the whistle went, so he gained the extra point, and if I be forgiven for using the phrase I used rather a lot last week, he's now creeping up on Kenneth Williams. But Kenneth is still in the lead. And Kenneth, your turn to begin. Rhodomontade. Can you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, Lily, I suppose, would be considered the past master of this art. The art of...
Andre Melly, challenge first.
2 arts.
2 arts, yes. I agree with Andre's challenge. He has 49 seconds, starting now.
I believe this means to talk and rant on alarming on any subject which you like. Humpty Dumpty in Through the Looking Glass was an experiment.
Kenneth Williams' challenge, why?
Hesitation.
Not
In
quite.
Earth through
Not
the,
quite.
In Earth through the Looking Glass.
Yes,
What are you talking about?
almost, but not quite, Kenneth. And so
In Earth through the Looking Glass.
she was teetering on the edge of hesitation. She didn't quite
It was Humpty
achieve it.
Dumpty who was doing that, surely.
He was also doing it. I disagree with Kenneth's challenge. He can afford to be generous. He's well in the lead. 40 seconds for you, Andre, still with Rhodomontade starting now.
Goliath, there was an exponent, if you like, booming.
Clement Freud, you challenged.
Hesitation.
I would agree this time, yes. Her boom didn't come out quick enough.
Oh,
36 seconds for Rhodomontade with you, Clement, starting now.
In the country lanes of Sligo, you will find on a Saturday afternoon Rod O'Montade, one of the broths of boys, chirping.
Kenneth Williams, your challenge.
I mean, obvious hesitation.
Yes, it was hesitation. Having thought of that wonderful thing about Rod O'Montade, everybody paused to think about it, including Clement Freud, so he hesitated. And Kenneth, you have another point, 24 seconds, Rod O'Montade starting now.
We shall light a beacon in Europe, which could be described as a fine piece of Rhodomontade insofar as he had only a candle at the time he said it. But what a beautiful sound Rhodomontade very often has. Euphuistic, euphonymous, or onomatopoeic.
Kenneth, you were speaking when the whistle went. You gained more points. You've increased your lead, and you very nearly gave me an impossible decision to make because I thought they might challenge you on the euphuistic, and you might have been challenged for repetition of you when it was part of a word that you
No,
took
you're getting it
slowly.
wrong. dear. I never said euphemistic. I said euphuistic. Two different
Well, it
things.
doesn't matter. You paused after the you, and I might well have been challenged for it. It would have been an impossible decision to make, which I often have to
I've
do.
got a feeling you're getting awfully bolshy.
I'm just pointing out the pitfalls that occur so that you won't repeat them because I can't make decisions about them. Clement Freud, your turn to begin. The subject is geezers. Can you talk to us about them? 60 seconds, starting now.
Geezers is a colloquial word meaning chaps, people, masculine humanity, the sort that comes up with a cap askew, a Macintosh open, who do not necessarily reveal themselves but dress in a fairly unappetizing manner, so that you might say,
Kenneth Williams.
Deviation, this is completely untrue. I don't dress like that, and the taxi driver said to me, "Are you the geezer on the telly?"
Yes, I think you can call anybody a geezer, not just the type that Clement Freud is
He's
describing.
making it sound all sort of disreputable, isn't he?
Well, he's making a geezer apply to only one type of individual, which he very clearly drew for us. So, Kenneth, I agree with your challenge.
Thank
You
you
have yet
very
another
much.
point, 41 seconds, starting now.
These are the things that spout out of the ground in New Zealand. And when I was over there, I said to this girl, "Oh, what is all that hot liquid that appears to be projecting itself into the air?" She said, "Well, it's sulphurous, you see, and if you bathe yourself in that actual fluid, you will find all your aches and all your..."
Clement Freud's challenge, why?
repetition.
Of
All your.
all your, yes, well, I have to know, Clement, to see whether you've spotted it correctly. So you gain a point for a correct challenge, and 19 seconds on geezers, Clement Freud, starting now.
One of the most interesting things about our bathroom is that when you turn on the cold water tap, hot aqueous matter runs out of it. And this would appear to
Peter
be...
Jones, why have you challenged?
I don't think you can call it aqueous. You can say liquid if you like.
I do think that very few people refer to it as hot aqueous matter. But on the other hand, if you've already used the word water and you're playing just a minute and on the spur of the moment you have to think of another phrase,
Well, you
I
just
think it's...
say it. Or
And you-
liquid or
You
something.
do, I didn't. I said hot aqueous
I
matter.
think on the spur of the moment it was quite a clever way of keeping going without hesitation or repetition. So, to be perfectly fair, we must leave it with Clement Freud, who has another point. 8 seconds, geezers, Clement, starting now.
And the plumber who was called said, "It's the geezer." I said, "Only one." He replied, "No."
Kenneth Williams, a challenge.
Geezer.
Plumber who called said, and I said to
Yes,
said.
that's right. There were 2 sets. So, Kenneth, you have yet another point. It is the last round.
You said it quite differently.
You said it quite differently. And you said it beautifully. You said it profoundly. You said it interestingly. But you said it. All right, Kenneth, you have 2 points on Geezer starting now.
The gas all corroded, the geezer exploded and blew us back into the muse.
Kenneth was speaking when the whistle went. He gained the extra point. As I said a moment ago, I'm afraid we have no more time for any more. That was the last round, so I will give you the score at the end of that round. Andre Melly was in 4th place, a little way behind Clement Freud. There was 2 points behind Peter Jones, who was no less than 9 points behind the fellow who earlier on said, I haven't won at all in the series. But today he has won comfortably, amply, nobly, and generously. This week's winner, Kenneth Williams. Kenneth has been so overcome with his success that he has absolutely slipped underneath the desk with embarrassment. Thank you very much for listening to this particular program of Just a Minute. We do hope that you enjoyed it. And from all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch. We present Kenneth Williams, Clement Freud, Peter Jones, and Andre Melly in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, and welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once again, we have our 4 most experienced players of the game who are going to do battle in this verbal battle of wits and try and win just a minute. I'm going to ask each one of them if they can speak for just a minute on some unlikely subject without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject on the card which is in front of me. And according to how well they do this, they will win points or lose them. And so let us begin the show this week with Kenneth Williams. Kenneth, will you talk to us for 60 seconds, if you can, on sensible winter underwear? A good subject to start the program with, and you start now.
Well, of course, I always believe in these old sayings, don't cast a clout till May is out. And therefore, I do not leave off the interlock woolens until that period is reached. You can't beat wool. Indeed, it has been written on posters that there is no substitute for it. Just like myself, there is no replica. Nothing more beautiful nor cozy does exist in this land than something wool on me. People have said,
Andre Melly,
how dare be, I've just started.
You've been going on very well for over 30 seconds, and Andre has challenged you. Andre Melly, what is your challenge?
A repetition, 2 wools.
Sensible winter underwear. Wool is not in the title on the card, so it's perfectly correct. You have repeated wool, Kenneth. So I agree with Andre's challenge. She takes a point and the subject, and she has 27 seconds for sensible winter underwear starting now.
If you are a woman, this is very difficult to find. Those thick woolly vests are not suitable because they ruckle round the arms where the sleeves are and put on inches round your waist. Spencer, that's a good thing.
Peter Jones challenged you. Why?
Repetition of round.
Yes, indeed. You did have too much roundness there, Andre. Repetition of round. So I agree with Peter's challenge. He gains a point. 14 seconds left for sensible winter underwear, Peter, starting now.
I don't know what the perfect solution is. Something that one can wear on television when the lights are very hot, and also still have on when one is queuing up for a bus when the program is over.
Glimpses of people's life you get from this program. I saw Peter Jones in his sensible winter underwear queuing for a bus. That whistle, by the way, tells
I
us
wear
that...
my raincoat over them, of course.
Ah, Good, we're reassured, Peter. That whistle tells us that 60 seconds is up, and whoever is speaking at that particular moment gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Peter Jones, so at the end of the first round, he has a lead of 1 over Andre Melli, and the others have yet to score. Peter Jones, your turn to begin, and the subject is my favourite sport. Can you talk to us about that for just a minute, starting now?
Yes, I'm very pleased to talk about it because it's something that my wife is able to join me in. We both love going out into the country and hunting for houses. Not that we are unhappy about the domicile in which we exist, but we do always have a dream that somewhere over the hill or possibly over the sea on the
And there's a
continent...
challenge from Kenneth Williams.
2 overs.
Yes, you went over too much. So I agree with Kenneth's challenge. He gains a point, and he has now 33 seconds for my favourite sport, starting now.
But it's unfortunate because I don't have one.
And someone has challenged you. Clement Freud presses buzzer first. What is it, Clement?
Hesitation.
A hesitation. I agree with Clement's challenge. He gains a point for a correct one. Has 30 seconds to continue with my favourite sport, starting now.
My favourite sport is baiting Kenneth Williams. I creep down Baker Street at dawn of a Tuesday with a picadillo in one hand and a gherkin in another, while a string vest contains newts. And reaching the north end of that thoroughfare, I have a poster of the aforesaid team member of this game, just a minute, and get all sorts of...
Andre Melli challenged you.
Hesitation.
I think so. As he was doing so well, trying to find different phrases for the same expression all the way through. And he almost made it, but there were only 4 seconds left. Andre got in with a correct challenge, and she continues with my favourite sport, starting now.
My favourite sport is called Frida McDyke. She was the games and gym mistress.
So Andre, getting in just before the whistle, kept the subject, gained the extra point for speaking when the whistle went, and has a lead of 1 over everybody else at the end of the second round. Clement Freud, your turn to begin. The most fun I ever had. Can you tell us about that in 60 seconds, starting now?
The most fun I ever had, starting now, is a fantastic woman sitting in the 8th row with purple hair and a glass eye. We are going to have such a fantastically cheerful time when this program is over. And I'm sorry about speaking in the future, but since I came in and I noticed that astonishing twitch of my left toe as I caught her eye, and she mine, we sit there. I'm going to stop now because it's
Andre
all...
Melli has challenged.
Because he was going to stop there.
He didn't stop, did he?
So why did you challenge?
The hesitation he was about to do.
Now, Andre, no, because you see, he actually hadn't stopped. He was still going on the subject. Actually, he was talking in the future. So he was at that moment being devious, but you didn't challenge the
He was being
deviation.
devious.
Too late now. No, he hadn't actually stopped. He was still going on until we get a correct challenge. Clement Freud keeps the subject with another point, of course, for a wrong challenge. And there are 26 seconds left, starting now.
On March the 18th, 1951, it was picnic time. Mummy, Daddy, Auntie Mabel, and Uncle Jim came into my bedroom at 9:15 and said, "It's outing!" And the shower ball was outside, and the car, the chauffeur, the maid, the butler, we all went to Lowestoft and then Yarmouth, up the coast to Sheringham.
Andre's challenged your outing. I'm sorry. Why is your challenge this time, Andre?
Well, out of snobism. I mean, you can't have all those many servants. It's too embarrassing.
You can't, and he probably hasn't, and probably never
Devious.
did. But he
Devious,
never established that these servants had anything to do with him. And he was still keeping going on the most fun I ever had. He might have had it with the butler and the parlour maid and the cook, for all we know.
All right, but you have another point.
That he hadn't deviated from the subject to be perfectly accurate, Andre, so he keeps it, and there are 8 seconds left, starting now.
She wore a Macintosh, and I had Wellington boots, when the man came along and said, with a whip and a face like yours...
I'm delighted that the whistle went just then, before we got really devious. I think we're about to have it. But Clement Freud started with the subject. In spite of challenges, kept going on the subject. He now has the lead. He has 4, Andre has 3, Peter Jones has 2, and Kenneth Williams has 1 point at the end of that round. And Andre Melli, your turn to begin. Why good cooking is a mark of civilization. Can you talk on that particular subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
Clement Freud, as we all know, is a very good cook and a mark of civilization if ever I saw one. So the reason is...
Kenneth Williams is challenged.
Deviation, a man cannot be a mark.
I don't think it can be a mark of civilization. I quite agree. No, and especially Clement Freud, so that we... I agree with your challenge, Kenneth. You gain a point, and you have 50 seconds for why good cooking is a mark of civilization, starting now.
Well, of course, good cooking is not a mark of civilization, and indeed, empirically in Athens, which was one of the most advanced civilizations we've ever known, the cooking was appalling. They used to do this stuff on a spit, you know, and it used to revolve round. They used to throw this grease on, and they used to... all of them, and those terrible indigestion! And there was all the bismuth going round afterwards, and the most awful regurgitation. Noises all the time, you see.
Clement Freud is challenged before you got your belch in.
Regurgitation
Why not?
is repetition.
Of what? Coming back. It's all right. I wanted to give you the line to say it was coming back instead of me saying it, but it's all right. Regurgitation, repetition. A very good challenge. Give him a point for a clever idea, but as Kenneth Williams did not deviate from the subject of why good cooking is a mark of civilization, he keeps the subject and continues for 26 seconds, starting now.
The assumption has always been, of course, that indeed the most sophisticated nation in Europe, but undoubtedly the French, do hold the field here, that the best kind of food can be obtained in that country, the best cooking, I mean, and...
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Repetition of best.
Yes, I agree with your challenge. You take a point, and you have 10.5 seconds for why good cooking is a mark of civilization, starting now.
I suppose if you went down the high street of Vaduz, which is the capital of Liechtenstein, and came across a toad in the hole, you would be justified in thinking that...
I'm fascinated to know what we would be justified in thinking, Clement.
Me too.
Once again, saved by the whistle. You get an extra point for speaking when the whistle went, Clement, and you've increased your lead at the end of that round. Peter Jones, your turn. Old jokes. Do you know any, Peter? But if not, can you talk about them for 60 seconds, starting now?
I'm very pleased to talk about them because I collect them, just as other people go round picking up antiques or storing bottles.
And Andre Melly challenged you.
Your hesitation.
Yes, and she goes around picking up points because I agree with that hesitation, Andre. You have 50 seconds for old jokes, starting now.
They're called chestnuts very often. I don't really know why. Comedians tell them and do them up in different ways to try and make them topical. I hate them. I get very nervous when people start telling jokes because I very rarely see the point. I believe there are only a few...
Clement Freud got in first.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, I agree, Clement. 33 seconds for old jokes, starting now.
A man went into a chemist shop and said, "Do you sell talcum powder?" And the chemist said, "Certainly, sir. Will you walk this way?" And the man said, "If I could walk that way, I wouldn't need the substance that I carry."
Kenneth Williams has challenged your old joke.
Well, of course, he said walk twice.
And of course he had to say it to say the joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I say.
Yeah.
I say you won a point, Kenneth, and you have the subject of old jokes and 20 seconds for them, starting now.
A bloke rushed into the pub and he said, "Mine's a light," and the barmaid poured a bucket of cold water all over him. And another bloke rushed in and said, "Mine's a large one, so you ought to not boast in." They are jokes.
Yes, we can see the whiskers. You were challenged after the first one, actually.
Who challenged me?
Your colleague beside you.
Did you have the disloyalty?
Yes. Clement, why did you challenge that first
Two
old joke?
blokes.
What's that?
Repetition. Repetition of bloke.
Oh,
Yes.
it's true, I did.
There were two blokes in the first
Yes,
joke.
I'm
weren't there?
sorry. I do apologise.
Yeah, but you got the joke and you got the laugh. So
That's
and
true.
he had two walks. And he got
That's true.
So he's got it back again. Clem, another point to you. 14 seconds, old joke, starting now.
This gentleman went into a pharmaceutical store and said, "Do you sell toothbrushes?" And the assistant said, "Certainly, sir, we have three kinds. Bristle, 2 and 6. Nylon, 3 and 9. Alligator hair, 5 shillings. And the man thought for a while and said, "I would like to purchase the latter because I have never heard of it before." To which the chemist said, I can't go on because it's a filthy story, and I thought the whistle would blow.
Andre challenged you a long while back, actually. We wanted you to go on because I knew at the end of it, I wanted to know if you dare to give them Andre, what was your challenge way back?
Well, I wanted to save him the embarrassment because I heard it too. Deviation, because I knew it was.
Oh, no, I'm afraid he hadn't actually deviated from the old joke, so it's back with you, Clement. You've still
right,
got old
finish
jokes.
it.
4 seconds. 4 seconds left, starting now.
As he was about to conclude his purchase, yet another customer entered through the portals of the Emporium, dealing in articles such as...
Your very clean story gave you an increased lead at the end of that round over all the others. And Clement Freud, we're back with you. Your turn to begin. And the subject is charm. So can you talk to us for 60 seconds on that subject, starting now?
Charm is a very elusive quality, sometimes to be seen in patrons of chemist shops, who use talcum powder, toothbrushes, ointments, and other emulsions to multiply the already existent factor of charm already inherent in their person.
Kenneth Williams has challenged.
Two alreadys.
Yes,
There was
quite
indeed,
right.
yes. Well, listen, Kenneth. So you have the subject now of charm, Kenneth. And you have 40 seconds on charm. And you're looking your most charming at the present moment, I must say. And the audience have recognized it, that's why they're laughing. And you start now.
Well, of course, there are various varieties. I do symbolize theatrical charm. And then there is the charm that exerted by the man who has these snakes and makes them do all kinds of exciting things and interest various passers-by in marketplaces in Morocco. I have stood enchanted watching these gyrations as these reptiles wind themselves round in the air and the flute there goes on.
I think Kenneth Williams has found a new way to play this game. He speaks so quietly the other three can't hear it. We didn't know what you said, Kenneth.
That's called actual dulcet tones.
Yes. They were so dull, so we didn't know whether you were repetitious, hesitationist, or deviational. So there we are. Andre Melly, we go from charm to the subject of powder. So can you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
This is a particularly boring subject which I will try to talk about for 60 seconds. It comes in different shades, from pale pink to green, if you have very red cheeks and want to get the glow down. There is the talcum variety, which can be found in chemist shops together with toothbrushes, toothpaste, and other commodities. Not very expensive. I don't quite know what it's made of. You can have it in large boxes or small ones. Put it in a compact, gold, gilt, silver, whatever you wish. I'm terribly fed up talking about this, but no...
And Clement Freud has helped you.
Deviation.
Why?
I'm terribly fed up talking about this. Has nothing to do with powder.
She's actually meant I'm fed up talking about this, which was powder, so she hasn't deviated from powder, so she still keeps the subject, having got another point for a wrong challenge. Thank you. And there are 25 seconds left, starting now.
There is the baby variety, used to keep the small infant from getting chapped in the neck.
Kenneth Williams' wife, who
There's no
challenged.
such thing as a small infant.
That's what happens when you put someone under pressure. Their infants become infants. So you have the subject, Kenneth, and a point, of course, and 19 seconds for powder, starting now.
Well, when you are ablaze with acne, as I have frequently been, then you do apply
Peter
the
Jones
odd...
has challenged your acne.
Who?
Peter Jones.
How dare
Can't be ablaze with
you? Haven't seen me, especially in puberty, you... You asked me mother, she had a terrible job. Pustules everywhere. I was covered in them. Oh, it was a horrible sight. People used to say, cover him up, for goodness sake. Blanket over me half the time. Sackcloth and ashes was my lot. I could tell you things and make your hair curl.
All right, our hairs are curling. Very good. I'll tell you what I'll do, because I think, technically speaking, if you use a phrase, you can use it sort of...
Of course, I was
thematic-
using it euphemistically, of course, idiosyncratically, how you like.
Flamboyantly, yeah.
Yes. Good
But
gracious
let the
me.
audience be the final judge. If they think that that phrase of ablaze with acne is not a good one, if they consider that was devious, let them be the final judge on this difficult point. I will put it to them. If they agree with Peter's challenge, then would they cheer? If they disagree, would they boo? And will you all do it together now? You're ablaze! Kenneth Williams, blaze away for 14 seconds on powder starting
So
now.
after applying a little erase, you powder down with, of course, the poudre Rochelle. This gives one an inviting, almost...
Peter Jones has challenged again.
Repetition. He
What?
just changed the language.
Repetition.
You must have said the same word. I said powder and then poudre.
Well, you can go
So
through the
that's all right.
all the languages in Europe doing
But
that.
actually, the word powder is the word on the card, which he
Yes.
didn't repeat. And he hasn't used the word poudre before, so I don't see why he was being repetitious.
Well, I thought I'd try. I am in fourth place. I've nothing to lose. I can't lose by a wider margin, really.
Unless we got
Well, I'll tell you what you have done.
What?
Unless we got some more competitors.
Yes,
Tell me what you have done. You've now got the audience on your side, so maybe next
well,
time...
I don't know. I want them after that.
I must be fair to the rules of the game, because otherwise I get so many brickbats from you and letters from others. So, Kenneth, as I disagree with the challenge, you have another point and 6 seconds for powder starting now.
I have frequently disappeared in a flurry of talcum powder, and people have said, goodness gracious me, how incredible.
Kenneth Williams was speaking then when the whistle went. He gained the extra point. He also got a number of points throughout that particular round with his acne and his powder. So he has what he says he loves to do, leap forward. But he hasn't leapt into the lead, but he has crept up most considerably on Clement Freud. Andre Melly is in third place. Peter Jones, as you already know from his own lips, is still in fourth place. Kenneth, the subject is for you now. I mean, it's your turn, and the subject is the Great Bed of Ware. Can you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, there was this grate, you see, and they all said, where is this bed? Because they couldn't find out where it was, you see. The grate was there, but not the bed. So she said, well, look here, we must have the bed. There's a grate, because the grate in the room obviously would be there. There was no bed, you see what I mean? So they had to send to install. When the centrifuge was installed, they said, to open that very quickly, the entrance sparkers where the waxy Ulysses, the stuffy idiot, and all the bus siren safely.
Yeah.
But of course, that wasn't done either. So instead, they put 12 into the bed, which White Course became called the bed of
Well,
Ware.
long before you started speaking so quickly that nobody could understand you, Clement Freud challenged you.
Oh, sorry.
What was your challenge, Clement?
That was a long time ago. There were 5 grates. We did at one time establish that even if it's on the
No,
card...
actually, that particular moment I was counting. I have a lot to do. There were 3 grates, 3 beds, and 3 wares. Right, Kenneth Williams has another point for an incorrect challenge, and he has 47 seconds for the Great Bed of Ware starting now.
Well, of course, it was this
Clement
vast...
Freud has challenged
The
you again.
repetition of course.
I've just started, you fool. How can you say, of course?
Your initial 13-second breath.
That doesn't count in your second gambit, you great nit.
I don't think you said, of course, in this particular round.
Thank you very much, Nick. Exactly. Marvellous chairman. Brilliant.
45 seconds for you, Kenneth, on the Great Bed of Ware starting now.
It was in this vast public house that this bed was situated, and in that period, people frequently were known to sleep in the same object, you see. So, on one occasion, there is historical record to the effect that 12 people were all in...
Clement Freud is challenged. Why?
Repetition of people.
Yes, and there was a repetition of 12. So, Clement Freud, I agree with your challenge this time. And there are 15 seconds left for the Great Bed of Ware starting now.
I had some friends called the Albios who lived not far from Stevenage.
Kenneth Williams' wife who challenged.
Irrelevant. Devious.
No, Stevenage isn't very far from Ware.
But to do with long, so nothing to do with it, dear. The things at the British Museum, something to do with where.
But Ware is in Hertfordshire, and it's not far from Stevenage. If you're going to talk about the great
He's
bit
got
of
the
Ware-
friends that live there now. The bed's been in the museum for years. What's it got to do with it? Totally irrelevant.
You know, his friends may be in the museum as well. No, he didn't deviate from the subject. There are 6 seconds left. The great bit of Ware, Clement, starting now.
Who were passionately interested in Hertfordshire history, which...
Peter Jones is challenged. Why?
Repetition of Hertfordshire.
Definitely, you've said it before.
No, I
Yes,
said
you've
Hertfordshire.
before.
I said Hertfordshire.
Brilliant!
You've changed your affections very rapidly.
I know. I've gone off in terrible.
This used to be your friend whom you supported
I
against the others.
know, but he's changed the aftershave.
I'm sorry, I've got to be fair about this. I said Hertfordshire, not Clement Freud. So it was well tried. I know we wanted to hear from you, Pete. It was lovely, but I've got to be accurate. 2 seconds for Clement on the great bit of Ware, starting now.
Taking an underground to Russell Square.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we have no more time to play Just a Minute. So it only remains for me to give you the final score. At the end of this particular edition of Just a Minute, you might not be surprised to hear, after what you already heard, that Peter Jones was in 4th place. He was a little way behind Andre Melly, who was in 3rd place, who was a little way behind Kenneth Williams, who was in a good 2nd place. But Kenneth was undoubtedly beaten by our winner this week, Clement Freud. We do hope that you have enjoyed this particular edition of Just a Minute, and from all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch. We present Kenneth Williams, Clement Freud, Peter Jones, and Andre Melly in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much. Hello, and welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once again, we have these 4 experienced people who enjoy this verbal battle of wits, Just a Minute. And I'm once again going to ask them if they can speak for just a minute on some unlikely subject without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject. And according to how well they do it, they will gain points or lose points to their opponents. That's how we play, and we begin the show this week with Andre Melly. Andre, the subject is jazz. Can you talk to us for 60 seconds on jazz, starting now?
Jazz originated in America. It was born in the Negro spiritual and the work songs of the prisons.
Kenneth Williams is
Deviation.
Why?
Because it couldn't have been born. Birth is nativity and all the rest of it, and creation a human activity. And of course, this is not an activity
Well,
of
actually,
a physical
I've heard
kind.
people in talking about the creation of something other than a human.
Well, I don't
say
care about
it's-
that. I'm not interested in what you've done.
I know you're not interested, but-
I should have the subject, I think, don't you?
I definitely think you should have the subject.
Thank you very much.
But I would
Now,
like you to
about
get
jazz.
it. I'd like you to get it legitimately. And I don't think that, and I'm sure you would like to get it legitimately.
Oh, I
too.
don't mind illegitimacy at all. I don't mind it at all.
Well, all right. I'm afraid I disagree with your challenge, Kenneth. So that means Andre gets a point for a wrong challenge. She keeps the
Oh,
subject,
how
and 51
infuriating.
seconds left for jazz, starting now.
It then moved to the towns like New Orleans and was found in the honky-tonks.
Clement Freud challenge. Why?
Deviation.
Why?
There are no towns like New Orleans.
You have a point for a clever challenge. It was not devious. Andre, you keep the subject jazz. 47 seconds left, starting now.
And brothels. Bessie Smith was one of the great exponents of blues, the classic form of jazz. Later, Billie Holiday, for example, was a more sophisticated...
Kenneth Williams, you challenge.
Oh, I have no hesitation there.
You could have had for deviation, a more sophisticated... I don't know what that's going to... Kenneth, I agree with your challenge. You gain a point and you take the subject over. There are 35 seconds for Jazz starting now.
Its authentic quality was supposedly its involuntary nature. The fact that these people could sit at a piano or with a trumpet, come out with these sounds which were impromptu. That is to say, there was not a score. There was not a formal... Who's at the top? I think it's a nerve, you know. I really do.
Yes.
I was throbbing with it, I was. I was concentrating there.
Right at the beginning of the programme, Andre was throbbing with it and you came in with a challenge.
Yes, well, she's woman's lib. I'm anti.
Well, the women's lib challenged you on that one. Andre, what was
There
it?
was a repetition of not A and not A, right one after the other.
Not A and not A. Yes, I thought it was also a repetition of something else, but that one was correct, Andre. You keep the subject. I'm sorry, you'll get the subject back and have a point for a correct challenge. Jazz, 13 seconds, starting now.
The frontline instrumentalists intertwine the melody, and then one takes over. Occasionally, the bass player of the rhythm section is allowed to perform on his own.
You were very lucky there, Andre, because Clement Freud challenged you just on your bum-a-dum-a-dum-dum-dum, and the bell went after the first boom. Otherwise, you're dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. You're definitely repetitious. Whoever speaks in this game when the whistle goes, which tells us, by the way, that 60 seconds is up, gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Andre Melly, so she has a commanding lead at the end of the first round. Kenneth Williams, will you begin the second round? The subject, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. What do you mean, oh? Can you talk to us about those two characters for 60 seconds, starting now?
They derived from a novel which was a load of rubbish about a man who, after taking some sort of potion, became another person. And this gave rise to another lot of idiotic ideas connected with the modern word in psychology, schizophrenia, which actually perpetrates...
Clement Freud, why have you challenged?
Schizophrenia, I didn't care for.
I didn't say Skritz, you great nit. How dare you put words in my mouth, and I don't know where they've been anyway.
Schizophrenia or schizophrenia, I still think we knew what you meant. 44 seconds for you, Kenneth, with another point on the subject of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, starting now.
And of course, the idea was that they both represented the sides, so to speak, of the same coin. That one day you could have goodness, and that at another period, evil. In fact, the turnabout was accomplished with a whole mass of hair. He became hirsute to a degree, and these teeth, which were normally quite like dentures, became fangish, and horrible sort of mucus gathered about the lips, do you see? There was sort of hydration.
Clement Freud challenged you.
Repetition of sort of.
Yes, there was a repetition of sort of, which is a bit mean, but it was an accurate challenge, so you gain a point, Clement, and there are 9 seconds for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
He leaves it till there's 9 seconds. Have you noticed that, Peter? Have you noticed that, Peter?
Yes, I have noticed
It's
that.
wicked,
yes.
isn't it? You see, it lets you do all the work, and then he comes in on the end. He's only got 9 seconds to fill in, hasn't he? I don't call that willing, do you?
No.
Peter, what do you think, Peter?
Week after week, I try to work out how he does this.
There you
But
are.
I can't understand
Well,
it.
last week you got in on 4 seconds a couple of times, Peter.
Yeah, but you didn't allow it. I remember, you know. I remember all week. It's been rankling.
It's been a long week
Night
for all
after
of us,
night,
hasn't
I've been
it?
thinking about it. Yeah.
What was the challenge now? Yes, sort of. And, Clement, I agree with the challenge. There are 9 seconds left for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, starting now.
There was a film of this name which I saw in a cinema in Totnes, Devon, which featured Spencer Tracy, now deceased, in which Ingrid Bergman...
On this occasion, Clement Freud was speaking when the whistle went, so he gained that extra point, and he's now taken the lead alongside Andre Melly. Peter Jones, your turn to begin. In fact, Peter Jones, your turn to hear from you. The best day of my life. Can you tell us about that in 60 seconds, Peter, starting now?
Well, I am an incurable optimist, obviously, or I wouldn't be here week after week. The best day of...
Clement Freud is challenged. Why?
Repetition.
You're an incurable optimist, Peter, otherwise you wouldn't think of phrases like that to say in just a minute.
No, I know, most unfortunate.
But actually, week after week, we cannot let go by, and Clement Freud got in, and I agree with the challenge. So, Clement, you take a point, and there are 54 seconds left. The best day of my life, Clement, starting now.
Day after day.
And who was to say that Clement Freud isn't sporting? So you want to justify that?
You may repeat any word on the phrase on the card. We've always established.
Clement, Ian Messenger, you thought of the game. Can he do that?
Absolutely right, yes.
Thank goodness you're here beside me. So he very cleverly said something which produced a challenge from Andre Mellet, and it's an incorrect challenge. It means that Clement, of course, gains a point, keeps the subject, the best day of my life, and there are 52 seconds left starting now.
Was the 18th of August, 1965, because on this auspicious morning, I awoke to an alarm clock, rose, had grape nuts with milk and brown sugar, and then went outside, mounted a bus, and...
Kenneth Williams to challenge you.
Well, you can't mount a bus. Mount a horse, yes, I'll agree with a horse, but not
I think
a bus.
the picture of Clement Freud sitting astride a bus is... He may have done some devious things in his time, but I don't think astride a bus, no. You may say, colloquially, mount a bus, but nobody else does. Most people say they get on a bus, Clement, so I'm going to give it against you. Kenneth has a point on the subject. 35 seconds left for the best day of my life, Kenneth, starting now.
The best day of my life in my conscious memory, and I use the term advisedly, brothers and sisters.
Clement Freud has challenged you.
What's his challenge?
What's your challenge?
Brothers and
Brothers. You were being too brotherly. Clement Freud has a point, and he has 24 seconds for the best day of my life, starting now.
Shortly after noon, the public conveyance on which I was mounted pulled in...
Peter Jones has challenged you. Why?
Well, he keeps mounting these conveyances. And it doesn't seem right. I think on a breakfast of grape nuts, which he admit he had, he couldn't even attempt it.
Repetitious.
Yes.
You've given a different connotation to the mounting now, haven't you, Peter?
Well, I...
Repetitious. Definitely
So
repetitious.
what's your challenge?
Well, what can I have? Deviousness, yes.
No, we've had the mounting, repetition. He had the word mount before, didn't he?
Yes.
It's also devious anyway.
it was very devious.
He's trying to maintain, actually, that he's not being devious by using the word mounting a bus. So I disagree. Peter, you have a point, and you
I
have...
didn't say I was on a bus.
Yes, it's all right. Peter Jones has a point, a well-deserved point,
Yes.
and he's well in the game now. He has 1 point. And there are 17 seconds for you. The best day of my life, Peter, starting now.
The best day of my life will be tomorrow when Clement Freud wakes me up on the telephone and tells me that I've won this game and congratulates me. And then flowers and fruit, baskets of them, will arrive from Kenneth Williams. And then Andre Mellet will arrive in person. And we shall play
Andre
it.
Mellet has challenged you. Why?
To arrive.
You have a point. You arrived twice, and which was too much for Peter. So you get a point. 2 seconds left for the best day of my life, starting now.
Is today, because I am someone who's able to live in the moment.
So Andre Mary was speaking then with the whistle when she gained the extra point, and she's crept up on Clement Freud, which she may not have wanted to do, but she's only now 1 point behind him, but Clement's still in the lead, and Clement, it is your turn to begin. The subject, the animal I would be if I were not human. Can you have a little moment's thought and tell us in 60 seconds the animal I would be if I were not human? Starting now.
The animal I would be a hedgehog, because I could then not be mounted, which I understand is objectionable to the other members of the team. As a...
Kenneth Williams, why have you
I
challenged?
seem to come to a halt.
He is so knocked about this mounting business. He's so convinced that he's allowed to mount a bus when we think he shouldn't be astride it. That he's
simply
trying
mount
to
a
prove
hairbrush.
it very cleverly, but unsuccessfully. Kenneth, you have a correct challenge, a point, and you have 44 seconds for the animal I would be if I were not human, starting now.
I would like to be, and I assume that's what this question really means.
means I would.
Peter Jones has challenged you. Why?
He's making 3 or 4 syllables out of one-syllable words again.
So?
Well, it's a kind of way of hesitating without stopping making a noise.
Would you like... Would you like us to say hesitation?
Yes.
Obviously...
Hesitation, yes, but I mean, you got
The audience go no further, Peter, because the audience obviously agree with your challenge. So
thank you very much. I would like to say I do appreciate this. It's very kind of you all.
So, Peter Jones, the animal I would be if I were not human, starting now.
I would be our children's cat. We feed her regularly. Children open tins of...
Kenneth Williams challenge.
Well, he said children twice.
Yes, he did say children before. Yes, Kenneth, I agree with that challenge. You take over the subject, and there are 19 seconds for the animal I would be if I were not human, starting now.
A beautiful leopard with that natural grace those animals possess, in my view, to a greater degree than any other zoological specimen.
I would like very much to be a parrot to talk like that.
I must say, Kenneth, you gain a lot of points on the animal thing. In fact, everybody gained points on the animal question, but Kenneth Williams gained so many that he has now leapt into the lead alongside Clement Freud. It is Andre Melle's turn to begin. Andre, the subject now is the art of being feminine. So can you talk to us on the subject? Somebody has sensed what could happen in this particular round. Andre, the art of being feminine, 60 seconds, starting now.
Smell nice. This is most important. And grooming. Take particular care of your toenails, each and every one. There are many products on the market now, cosmetics, to make sure that you are alluring, feminine, and charming at all times. But there are other things, like you
Peter Jones got in first. What was your challenge, Peter?
Hesitation.
An undoubted hesitation. Do you notice all these raspberries she blows when she hesitates? It's
reflex.
Peter Jones, you're creeping up. You have gained another point, and you have 38 seconds on the art of being feminine. Starting now.
Well, I'm all against the sexes polarizing as they are and getting more different. I want to bring them both together. And it's awfully important that women shouldn't rely on teasing and flirting and generally affecting helplessness when in fact...
Andre Melle's challenge.
As a member of the Woman's Lib, I absolutely resent and object to that kind of thing. I call it completely devious.
It probably is, but it wasn't deviating from the subject on the card.
That is not being feminine.
The art of being feminine can be interpreted in whichever way you like, and to Peter Jones, that's the way he sees it. It's obviously quite different to the way you see it. Before you hit him over the head for having different ideas to you, can I award him a point and continue the game with 21 seconds on the art of being feminine, Peter, starting now?
Well, I was saying that that's what it wasn't.
Andre Melle challenged.
Repetition, he said that's what he was saying.
No, he said that's what
I wasn't saying.
So he has another point, and he has... Your emotions will take you into great trouble,
Yeah,
Andre.
it's just because I'm so fond of him, I want him to get lots of points.
You're obviously a very good actress too, Andre. Peter has now 18 points. He has 18 seconds to continue with the art of being feminine starting now.
And the one thing that the women...
Clement Freud challenged.
I'm very fond of him as well. I'd like him.
I almost feel tempted to award you a point for a good challenge instead of giving it to the point. Clement Freud would like to give a point to Peter Jones. So, we're all friends here, so I'm sure it'll be gratefully accepted. And he will continue with the subject for 17 seconds, Peter, the art of being feminine, starting now.
And the one thing that the women's lib people haven't been able to get across to the general public is the fact that men will be...
Clement Freud has challenged one.
Repetition of fact.
Yes, there was more than one fact there. I can understand, having started a game, you had to bring the fact in. I didn't really know what the fact was, actually, but still, Clement Freud has a point on this occasion, and there are 11 seconds on the art of being feminine, Clement, starting now.
Where's manifestation of femininity? Could be. No, I
on
think
Peter
it's-
Jones's challenge. Why?
Hesitation. Long hesitation.
Yes, but I must...
Well, Kenneth Williams put his arm round him. I saw that.
I was about to tell the listeners that is what actually happened.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
It didn't happen. My arm's on the back of this chair. It's not on him at all. What are you talking
Kenneth
about?
was illustrating the art of being feminine right then.
Well, I don't think Clement
Completely
Freud.
inhibited Clement Freud, and I think, to be fair, he was inhibited.
Clement Freud's never been inhibited in his life. Last week he told us about these adventures, that woman with a glass eye in the aisle. Never been inhibited, have you, love?
No,
Never been
because
inhibited.
All right, I tell you what I'll do. I will let the audience be the judge on this. If you think that it was unfair that Clement Freud was intimidated, shall I say, so he rather dried up on his challenge. If you think it's all within the game and he should have kept going irrespective, then, in other words, if you agree with Peter's challenge, will you cheer? And if you disagree and you're on Clement Freud's side here, will you boo? And you all do it together now. They feel that you should have kept going in spite of intimidations, Clement. So that means Peter Jones has another point, and there are 6 seconds, Peter, on the art of being feminine starting now.
And so forget all this business about saying it with flowers and soft music in romantic restaurants.
Peter Jones, the art of being feminine has taken you into the lead. With Andre Melle's aggressive help beside you, with the audience on your side, and with Clement Freud being intimidated, you've got a number of points in that round, and you now lead Clement Freud by 2, and the subject is now with you, Kenneth Williams. And the subject for you now, after that, from the art of being feminine, the subject is power. Could you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
This, of course, has been remarked upon by Lord Acton, and nobody has expressed it in a better fashion, that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this is
Andre Melle, challenge first.
Hesitation.
Yes, alas, yes. He got tongue-tied, so it's hesitation. 41 seconds on power, Andre, starting now.
This is something that men are particularly interested in public life and sometimes in private. Something that we women don't quite understand. Why is it necessary for them to wield power? Is there something else lacking?
Clement Freud, challenge, why?
It was the third something.
Yes.
Yes, the
second one,
third
yeah.
something. I quite agree there was something before. 25 seconds for you, Clement, on power, starting now.
It has 3 prongs as opposed to an electric light plug, which only has 2. I don't really understand the deeper points of electricity, but I'm always told that if you have an electric fire, a cooker, possibly an ironing board which works off the main.
Kenneth Williams, your challenge, why?
It's utterly boring.
It may be, but he wasn't deviating from power. was
No,
he?
I just wanted to get a knock.
Well, I would be careful because everybody's very, very close at this stage in the game. I disagree with your challenge. He does gain a point, and he has 7 seconds to continue with power, starting now.
We once lived in a bungalow which was DC, but we then got alternative current in a house.
Well, Clement Freud was speaking again when the whistle went. He got an extra point for Kenneth's challenge, so he now has a lead of 1 over Peter Jones at the end of that round. Kenneth and Andre are equal in 3rd place, just a little way behind. So it's very, very exciting, and I think we're getting towards the end of the show. But we certainly have time for 1 more round. Peter Jones, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is happiness. Can you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, I know it's something that you can't successfully find. You have to come across it when you're trying to do something else. In other words, it is a kind of byproduct of a task or even some effort that one is making in the course of one's normal life, or abnormal, if it so happens that it is something that happens in that way.
I think they were very kind, but Clement Freud couldn't let it go any longer. You challenged Clement. Why?
Ripped it.
Of what?
Something.
And something else, yes. Clement, you have a point for a correct challenge. 35 seconds on happiness starting now.
One of the saddest things about happiness is that it can't buy money. But there are other attributes which are equally distressing. For instance, it doesn't matter how happy one is, with Kenneth Williams sitting next to one, every now and again putting his left arm onto my left knee.
Andre Millie has challenged. Why?
His left arm on his left knee.
I had to do it for accuracy's sake.
15 seconds for Andre Millie, having gained another point on happiness starting now.
The important thing in life is to know when you've got it and appreciate it to the full. So many of us miss the opportunity and only afterwards.
Peter Jones has challenged. Why?
Well, she says so many of us miss the opportunity. Now, who is she speaking for?
You think it's devious because...
Well, I don't want to be in that category. I don't feel
You
that
think-
I have missed these opportunities. I mean, there haven't been very many, but believe me, I've always taken them with both hands.
In other words, you think it is devious to say that so many people miss the opportunity.
Well,
You-
of course,
you
like
think
so many of us, she said. So many of us. So she means you as well, you know. And old Freud there, and Kenneth.
So you think that the majority of people don't miss the opportunity?
Well, certainly
Absolutely.
they don't.
Well, if you were
No,
that,
I think
on
they
that
very
basis,
often-
you have a correct challenge.
Ah, thank you very much.
So
Good.
you have a point. and
What's
you
the
have...
subject?
Don't give yourself away, Peter. There are 3 seconds on happiness with you, Peter Jones, starting now.
It's a wonderful thing.
Happiness is indeed a wonderful thing, and we enjoy it very much, and we find it here on Just a Minute. And there's a very happy moment today because well, I'll tell you the score in reverse order. Kenneth Williams was only just in 4th place. Andre Melli was only 1 point ahead in 3rd place. Clement Freud was a few points ahead, but he was alongside our winner who has played the game less than anybody else, Peter Jones. Joint winners this week, Peter Jones and Clement Freud. Thank you very much for joining us on this particular edition of Just a Minute. From all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch.